Great, thank you very much. I'm here today to talk about the huge and pressing need for language technology, which is related to the huge and pressing need for more access to information. Because I am here representing two different organizations, I'm going to tell you about both of them. The first is Lexcelera, which is my translation company. I founded in 1986 in Paris, and I'm very proud that we were the first localization company to be ISO 9001 certified in France, and that's important in our MT work, which I'm going to talk about. We're known for quality MT, and in fact, I think that's the only MT we should really be talking about. None of our customers have come to us for bad quality MT. They all want quality MT, and that's one of the things, one of the takeaways today I hope that I can leave with you is the idea of how can we improve quality MT. We are also one of the only players in the market who are working with both rules-based and SMT, and I think that's a very, very important distinction to make when you're talking about quality MT. Is rules-based better, is SMT better, but what's better for what use? So I think that we have to stop talking about one or the other, and the hybrid is for example, the Cis-Trans hybrid, which we use, does bring the two together, but there are different use cases for SMT and for rules-based. Just quickly, for example, we're going to talk about forum content. That's really good with SMT, unstructured, Wild West kind of content, but where you need to have the terminology very strict, we use rules-based. Okay, and I also represent Translators Without Borders. I don't know if many of you know our organization. We're bringing together the whole industry. I see at least one sponsor, Daniel Grasmick from Lucy Software. We were founded in Paris in 1993. We're both a French and a US charity. What Translators Without Borders does is provide pro bono support to humanitarian organizations. Since May 2011, we have donated, and this is the exact number as of yesterday, it's higher today, 3,978,450 words to 17 non-profit organizations such as Doctors Without Borders, Oxfam, Handicap International, African Medical Relief, etc. So we support humanitarian work around the world, and we also are working for access to knowledge. This is my welcome to my world slide. This is what the reality is for localization companies today. We have an extremely fragmented market. Serge was talking about fragmented tools. We have fragmented suppliers. No one has a big share of the market. It's a very, very fragmented market in terms of thousands and thousands of LSPs around the world. There's a social web, which is giving us new kinds of content to deal with. We have growing volumes. We have a shortage of translators, and those two things alone should mean higher prices, but they don't. They mean lower prices. The Common Sense Advisor was just saying how weird it is that our industry has those two things, shortage of resources, growing demand, and prices that are constantly dropping. Something else I've seen since in the 25 years I've been in this industry, which obviously I started at a very young age, is shrinking deadlines. As I've seen the different technology come online, from the very first fax machines, the very first modems, I don't know if any of you, no, probably none of you remember Kermit or Y modem, with every single technological leap has put more pressure on us for deadlines. And that's continuing to this day. It's been quite funny to watch over the years. We also have new needs. For example, we had, just this week my translation company is doing 800,000 words in 5 days. That's a new need. Those words had to be translated in that time frame so that the company could understand and respond to a call for tenders. So the market is completely changing, and that is one of the reasons why we really need more and better language technology. Something else that characterizes our world today in the localization company side of things is the lack of visibility. And we as a group have not been very good about making the world aware of translation. Translation is totally not on the radar. So you get these inequalities such as all this fantastic forum content that we've been talking about. And all this wonderful content, and it's available only in English. I'm not picking on Nokia because they actually captured the Indian market by translating their interface into a dozen Indic languages. But the point is, if people buy a cell phone in Estonia, I believe they have the right to support in Estonian, and that is just not equitable right now. The lion's share of content is in English. So why do we need language technology? First of all, because there's a whole body of content that is not at all being translated, which is the user support, forums, customer support by the companies who sell in those countries. There's another really, really important inequality, and it means the difference between life and death on a huge scale, and I'm not exaggerating, because we had this study done just last month. It came out by the Common Sense Advisory. They did it for Translators Without Borders. It was a study of the African translation industry. And that study found that 97% of the respondents said that more translated information would help people protect their legal rights. 95% said that it would protect their human rights. 94% said it would protect health, public health, all across Africa. 91% said it would help contribute to the political process and democracy. 88% said it would help prevent ethnic conflict. I mean, those are huge numbers, and they're saying how important information is and how important translation is for that. But for me, the most striking statistic of that whole study was the next one, that 63% of the respondents said that they knew somebody, was somebody in their family or one of their friends who wouldn't have died, if they had, if they had access to translated information. So this is really, really, really important. Even within the borders of Europe, there are huge inequalities in what information is available to people. I like Wikipedia because being one of the top 10 websites on the web, on the internet, they give us a good, sorry, I hope you could hear me before. Yeah. They gave us a good window on what content is available in languages. And you can see that English is just literally off the page. But when we start talking about what content, what information about health and education and science and technology, what information people have access to, it drops off dramatically. But even the most strongly represented European languages, even the most poorly represented European languages are still doing better than the languages of the developing world in terms of what content they have access to. I mean, if we look at Latvian, with 1.5 million speakers, they still have twice as many pages as Bengali, with 180 million speakers. This is a really, really important issue, and I think that we need more language technology to deal with it better. I just want to say a little bit about what we're doing in my company. We've been working with machine translation since 2007, since people were saying, and I mean everybody was saying, MT is 5 years away from being ready and it always will be. So even now I find that everybody's looking for MT, they want to do it, they want to get it into their companies, and again, I'm speaking from the company perspective. Everybody wants it, but hardly anyone has jumped. And I think that there's some barriers there. There's fear. There's also confusion in the market, which I think is also brought about by these, what I call the engine wars, where people who sell SMT say SMT is best, people who sell rules-based say rules-based is best, and no one knows what to choose. So I think there's a lot of confusion in the market. And the important takeaway, I guess, from this slide would be that we believe in an approach that's engine agnostic. So you suit the engine to the process, to the content, and it's as simple as that. And the other really important thing I want to say is quality. I want to talk about MT quality. This is an actual quote from one of our customers, in fact, one of our earliest customers. We started doing French with them, we moved to German, Dutch, Italian, Spanish, Chinese, Japanese, I can't remember what else. So we just would take over one more language every project. So the not surprising part of this is cost savings 30%. That's standard, not surprising. Turnaround, improved time to market by 1/3, not surprising. But what I think is surprising to many people is, and this is all a direct quote from one of our customers, he said, contrary to all expectations, using MT has improved the translation quality. I think that's really important. I don't think we're shooting high enough with translation, with automated translation. I think we're shooting at gisting or understandability, but we're not really shooting at high quality. And yet, if you do it properly, if you train it properly, if you use controlled language, you can get fantastic results. So in this, in the client evaluation, they said that we got 8.25 out of 10 for MT. The significant part of this is the next part of what he says. He says their traditional TMs get 8 out of 10. That's another dirty little secret, I think, is that translation memories aren't always that good. This particular client has hired us to clean up their translation memories. They also said, and the scoring was blind, so the reviewers didn't know that it was MT. Otherwise, they would have probably been a little tougher on it, but they thought it was just a normal human translation, and they said that the 8 out of 10 on German, which is a tough language in MT, was nearly a 9, and it was the best translation of courseware they'd ever read. So, here's the other controversial, I think, thing I want to say, is that MT is not a tool, it's a process. And part of that process is selecting the right tool, but it's a process that starts with authoring. It goes through customization or training of the engine, piloting your process, processing the files, post-editing, QA checks, and the most, probably the second most important part of this is feeding your corrections back into the engine and improving it in real time if you can. So I'm just going to talk about one slide of one part of this process, the very beginning part, which is source content. And we have a project with the European Union called Accept, where we're working on just that. We're working with Acrolex, the University of Edinburgh, the University of Geneva, and Lexcelera, obviously, and Symantec. We're working to define rules for controlled language. What rules work best in SMT? What rules work best in rules-based? It's not the same thing, we're finding. We're also looking at how to make an easy interface for people who submit content on forums so that they can make their text a little more machine translatable. Because obviously forum content is definitely Wild West. All sorts of spelling mistakes and short forms. And so we need to get that a little bit better managed. And so we have this Accept project. If anybody wants to join our special interest group, if you have a company, if you have forum content, if you have user-generated content, then you can join our special interest group and take our post-editing platform and integrate it into your forums. Okay. This is the part of the TED Talk where you give your wish list. So, okay, it's not a TED Talk, but I'm going to give you my wish list. So in terms of machine translation, this is my wish list. For a post-editing environment, and I would agree with Stouch, we don't need 9 million. We need standardized. Right now, my post-editors are working in the TM tools and going back and forth, and I think this should be all integrated in one place. My wish list for SMT is that we can figure out the terminology part of that, because SMT is notorious for surprising you with terminology. And I'm going to be even more maybe controversial with TMs. I think we should throw them out. The big advantages that we've gotten from TMs, we have them. MT is now the future. TM should be going into the MT engine and basta. We shouldn't be going back and forth between TMs and MT. TM should be just another way to build an MT engine, just as glossaries, just as technologies are. So, what I want to say is that information is important. It's important to companies. It's a business right for people who buy software or products, that they be supported in their language, and it's a human right that people have access to the same information that we have because we speak English, the access to the information they need to live healthy and productive lives. And there's absolutely no way we're going to get to those two goals without better, smarter language technology. So thank you very much.
Thank you.